So welcome everybody and all listeners to Thrivecast, Unlocking Your Full Potential. I'm Oscar. I'm an emotional fitness coach and I help people find their emotional clarity and align with their inner wisdom. And with me today, I have Katarina Hanssens Carlsson. Katarina, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Oscar. So I'm an entrepreneurial, I wouldn't say an entrepreneurial genius, but I would say an entrepreneurial consultant genius because I can find your entrepreneurial brilliance in one day. I also do your love blueprint and also your love breakthrough because love is the subject today. It's about loving yourself. And okay, so let's start off. What is love? And how do we distinguish between love and lust? Because I think a lot of people confuse the two. So Oscar, what do you say?
Well, the word is difficult to grasp here because it's so easy to just look at the word. It's like, oh, it's this and it's that. But when you start to look at what is the implications inside of you, what is the emotion of lust and what is the emotion of love, then you can look at lust is almost like you're grasping after something. You feel it's almost driven by lack. It's driven by this idea that there's not enough and you need to get it before it goes away. But when you look at love, it's almost like there's a softness to it. There's an embrace in it. There is this co-creation. It's this willingness to understand. It's this willingness to forgive. This very gentleness in that as it's, as it is. And so you can only find the difference, I would argue, between lust and love when you start sensing what is the difference inside of you. When you go to the club and you're there in order to get someone, you get a need fulfilled, and afterwards you feel empty, then you know that was just lust, right? And if we're now talking, because we're on the theme of Jesus and the Bible and all of that, lust is a deadly sin. Why? Well, literally because if you're going there with an egoistic idea that you're out to get something, that will sooner or later come into your face. So that's my quick discernment around it. Oh, one other thing that I also want to say is that there's something called scale of consciousness. And I'm not going to go into it in very much detail, but desire is very low on the scale. Desire is even before, is lower than anger. Because there's almost a little bit of you can think about it, because there's almost a little bit of an anger inside of you when you let lust drive you, because there's this like, I'm gonna get it. It's almost a little bit of, and there's a spite of pride in it as well, right? So you can discern these things in the emotion of it all. And that's very interesting when you look at, am I coming from lust now? On the other hand, when you look at the scale of consciousness and you look at love, it's long, it's way above desire, because you need to have courage to get into love. You need to have willingness, acceptance, and you have to understand a lot of things around it in order to even grasp the fullness of what is universal love. Not just love that you put upon another one and you say, I'm loving you. No, I love everything you are. And regardless of what you ever do in your entire life, I will love you, right? That is love. And that's hard.
Yeah, unconditional love.
Yeah.
And also, I want to say that there's nothing wrong with desire, because
No.
we as human beings, when we desire, we create. But there's a very big distinction between desire and lust. So I think we were actually talking about lust. So what is love? Beautiful song about what is love. Love for me is the most intelligent and the greatest force in the universe. Because if you think about it, our globe, our world, take love out of the equation, there's just chaos. Nobody wants to look after the children. Nobody wants to love each other. It's all hate, war, greed. Yeah, there's a lot of this on this planet. But the wonderful thing is that love is here and it is forever. So what is the difference between love then and lust? Lust is, for me, in a personal way, I didn't know the difference when I was a teenager. I thought, well, I'm going to buy a sports car, beautiful sports car, Triumph Spitfire. I'm going to go to clubs. I'm going to do the male thing, because I was jealous of men. But I was looking for love through lust. Doesn't work. It hurt me more than I can say. So if you feel that you're in this category, that you go out and you're looking for love, and you're really honest with yourself, what you get is sex. And sex is not necessarily love. Sex and love go beautifully together and produce wonderful children. However, there's a huge distinction. So love yourself and be careful, be very careful of love, not lust, not only from yourself, but other people. Just say no to it. Okay, so let's look at our next question. So what stops us from loving ourselves? So Oscar, what do you think? What stops us? What's in the way?
We are in our own way.
Yeah.
Literally, we are in our own way. And our filter on ourselves and our surroundings is in the way. Because every time when you look through your eyes, or when you go into your own mind idea, right, it usually has a filter, an emotional filter on what you see. And everything will be everything will be warped into the image of that emotion. And so for me to really get to purity of love is also for you to understand that you are not your emotional filter, right? That you have to go through it. You need to get clear in that in order to truly see the image of perfection in you and in other people around you. And in order for you to understand that, then you also need to look at love as unconditional, which means that you cannot look through comparison. You cannot look like worldly accomplishments. Right? You cannot look upon your life and say that because I have this, I've accomplished this, or I am this in a social, in a materialistic, in a monetary, in a whatever way, in a friendship way, right? If you put qualities that somehow justifies that you are a loving person, then every time that those qualities goes away, every time that you somehow do not measure up to whatever your own scale is about, $5 million, then I allow myself to feel love, right? Because and that drops under, like let's say your bank account goes under, then you don't feel love for yourself. So you have to be very aware of where do you put your whole measurement in your life around love, and understand that you are loved. But you need to really see then with emotional clarity around that. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what is in the way? I would say it's our inner saboteur, which is connected to our reptilian brain. It's our reptilian brain that its purpose is to keep us small and safe and under its control. So, if we have been abused or traumatized in any way in our childhood, we try to figure out why they would do that to us. Because why would anyone ever want to hurt a child? They're inner saboteur. So then we think, well, they hate me. Then I must be a hated person. And I wonder what I have to be in order to avoid more abuse. And what happens is the inner saboteur takes over and starts to feed you in hating yourself. Does that make sense? Not really, but that's what happens. So some of the most innocent children will start hating themselves at a very early age. And that hate, that self-hate, stays until they unravel it, until they get down to the self-hate. And they think, does it make any sense? Is hate anything to do with truth? So if I say I hate myself, and I do the truth test, and I encourage you, if you have ever hated yourself, do this truth test. Write down, I hate myself. And then think about, have I always hated myself? Well, you don't know if you always have, right? So it's not necessarily true in the past. Is it true in the present? Maybe. Will you always hate yourself? You don't know that either. So it's not true. Now, do the test of love. Do you love yourself? It's a choice. You can say, yes, I do. Have you always loved yourself? There's always been love present. Why? Because love is life. And then you can ask yourself, what about the future? Will I always love myself? That's a choice too. So you can decide, I will always love myself. Why? Because you will always live with yourself. That's a certainty. Whatever religion you are, whatever creed, whatever culture you're from, you will always live with you. And some people will say throughout eternity. So what I'm saying is, defeat the inner saboteur. Don't listen to it. And decide to love yourself unconditionally. Okay, so what is the next question? Yes, why should we love ourselves? Why don't we just treat ourselves like everybody else does? Why should we, Oscar?
Well, it's again back to the whole idea. Why do we even exist? Because the fact is this, that you can have all the richness in the world in a materialistic way. You can have so many things going for you. You can have the most, everything. But it means, first of all, it means nothing if you don't have your health. But what is your health really dependent on? Your health is dependent on your emotional well-being. It's like your entire system thrives when you're in a state of love, when you're in a state of exuberance, of joy, of happiness, of excitement. And all of that is a function of love. But not only that, it's like everything goes your way when you're in love, because it's like you're sending out this magnificent, magnetic vision out into the universe that must, by universal laws, be propelled back at you, right? Because if you come with hatred to others, you will face hatred. But if you come with love and joy and embrace and everything, people will send that back to you. It happens automatically. So it's almost like you want to go on a cycle. It's like, do you want to go on the momentum of love, which is an ever building, ever growing expansion into infinity of grandeur, grandness, that is like, then you feel that life is meaningful, because life gets meaning when you're in a state of emotional happiness, and that emotional happiness is fueled by this notion that you are loved, and you will be loved, and you will always be loved, and you will always be taken care of. And so why? Well, I mean, it's almost, it becomes the fuel for everything that you create in your life. Every child that is made with love is can has the potential to be a beautiful child. I'm not saying that anyone that's made with hate is that the same, but it's almost like you're seeding the intention of love into a child. It will be a child of love. It will be. It's the same with parents, and you even if the child is born, you have the ability as a parent to give your child love. And when you send that unconditionality out, they will start reflect it, because you will see that the woman, or let's say a mother, that is not really attentive to their child, which means that they not necessarily love them. Why they don't love them? Because they don't love themselves. So they're on their phone and they're looking instead, is like, and the child is screaming, right? The child is mirroring back to the mother her own resentment for herself, right? And so the child just mirrors whatever the mother is doing. So love in its essence, or why should we love? Well, it becomes the fuel for beauty in our world. Yeah.
Beautiful. So, if the universe is love and we love ourselves, then we are in synchronicity with the universe. And then the universe is for us, not against us. The moment we start to hate ourselves, then the universe actually responds to that. And stuff happens, stuff that you wouldn't want yourself to go through, but it happens. I'm sure people can relate to this. So it's totally up to us. It's almost like you go with the law of the universe or you don't. And that's our choice. So we have thought sometimes that the universe was against us, or I haven't personally thought that God was against me, but I know people do believe that God punishes us. No, God doesn't punish us. If God punished us, God would be punishing himself. So that's an impossibility, because if God punished himself, it would be the end of not only this universe, every universe, all life. So make a decision. Why should you love yourself? You can be one with the power of the universe or not. It's as simple as that. So, all right, what's the next question? What happens in our lives when we love ourselves unconditionally? What do you say, Oscar?
Everything becomes easier. It's like you do not longer feel afraid of connecting with other people, because you feel that regardless of whatever way they are acting, whatever way they are being, you understand that it's not about you. It's not about you. And you are able to pursue whatever you desire in your life and go at it with clarity, and don't feel bad if you feel that at first you might not succeed or fail or whatever it is. It's like it's almost like it's this. Imagine that a mother and a father just pours love over their child. You know, these children that gets seeded with this, it's almost like there's not even an idea that failure is an option. Now, it's not this idea that it's like, oh, I'm always going to succeed at it, but it's almost, it's a play. It's a joy to just go out into the world and experience it, but you experience it from this place of play, of joy, and you're not serious. You know, this is one of the crucial points, because one of the major diseases in, you know, in our Western society, but in many societies, maybe the whole world, is that there's this shadow frequency of seriousness. You become so stuck in an idea of how life should look or how you should act. This is where perfectionism comes from, right? That you need to, oh, I need to fix it that way, or it needs to be this way. There's criterias. But what happens when love is there? Criteria melt away and lightness comes in. Light, you become filled with the light. And if you're really, and if we talk from a physical point of view, when love enters your body, your DNA expands. And as it expands, it takes in more light. And as that takes in more light, it rejuvenates every cell of your body. So you become vibrant, you become healthy, and it makes you probably so much younger than whatever you will consider your age to be. A human being that is loving radiates beauty, purity, health, vitality, and happiness. Who doesn't want that?
Beautiful. Thank you. So, unconditional love, it means you don't judge yourself. When you so-called fail, I don't actually believe in failure. For me, failure is giving up. And the greatest failure would be suicide, because you've given up on your life. So in that case, failure does exist, because you choose death over life. And I understand there are situations where you feel it's impossible to go on. So I do understand. So what would it be like to have a life without judgment, with unconditional love to yourself? And when you love unconditionally, when you love yourself unconditionally, you flow with love to others. Your love flows to others, so you can love anybody. It seems to me to be an impossibility for a lot of people to even have the notion of loving themselves. But if you think about it, you can make life really easy for yourself. And I'm not saying you don't have any challenges. You will have challenges. We all will have challenges. But if you love yourself and you make that decision, your life becomes much more of a flow rather than a battle. Does that make sense? If you don't love yourself, your life becomes a battle of survival. If you love yourself, it becomes, as Oscar was saying, a joy, a game, an adventure. And love is very close to courage. And when you have courage, your life begins to be exciting. So unconditional love. And when you think about, oh, well, that wasn't very loving to myself, just switch, just say, okay, so you made a mistake. That's okay. Just keep going. So, all right, Oscar, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, you get in touch with me through my website, realitydecoding.com. I also have a YouTube channel called Oscar Nygren and a Facebook group called Live Your Purpose.
Beautiful.
And Katarina, how do people reach you?
Yes. First of all, if you would like to make a breakthrough in love and you're struggling to actually love yourself, then click on my link and book a call with me. And if you would like your love blueprint, which can completely change your life, then click on the link as well. So you can reach me through LinkedIn. I'm Catherine Carlsson, Katherine, Carlsson, Carlsson. And that's the way you reach me. So we have an exciting week next week, and it's a surprise, but we are going to, as usual, say exactly what we think and feel. So, Oscar, do you have anything to say?
No, nothing except love yourself, see through your filter, and allow the world to show beauty to you when that filter is clear.
Thank you. Yes, so this week, love yourself.